Good evening. It is now 6:02 and time to call the February 13th, 2025 meeting of the Parker Water Board to order. From staff, we've got Deborah Lishansky, Steve Hellman, Heather Justice, James Roach, Jared Mann, and Ron Redd, our manager. From our attorney, Jeff Parker. From the board, we've got Bill Wasserman, myself, and Don Langley present, and we've got online Robert Kanal and Brooke Booth. Time for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any unscheduled items of public interest?
Yes, we have Mr. Nathan Anderson here to address the board. Mr. Anderson, you can use the podium if you like, and you have 4 minutes.
How's it going, everybody? Nathan Anderson with Lane Christensen Company. We were one of the bidders for the Stroh Ranch drilling project. Our bid was disqualified as of the last board meeting, and I was hoping to comment on it and bring a few things up and see if there was any possibility of discussion or further review. So Lane has worked with Parker. We've worked on Denver Basin well drilling projects for decades. We bid this project aggressively, and I believe our bid number shows that. We were disqualified for a list of clarifications that we included in our bid documents. Among those were additional pricing that we listed. However, that was not meant to be included in our base bid schedule, and we are requesting a meeting to review if you could look at it again. There's a $313,000 difference between Lane's bid and the second place bidder. I believe our clarifications were less than $20,000, and I don't believe the list for exclusions reflect our intent or our bid exactly. So I would love to meet with the board or with other members and discuss further.
Thank you for the comment.
Thank you.
It's not our practice to discuss from the public at the podium, but thank you for your comments.
Director Klotz, Jeff Parker will address some of this at the agenda item when it comes up. I think it's our second one.
Okay. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
We have none.
We have any here?
None.
Brooke and Robert, no changes? Okay.
None.
Board comments.
Nothing tonight.
Brooke, Robert, any board comments?
No, I don't have any.
Leadership team.
Okay, I'll get us started. So Reuter Hess is hanging in there at about 27,000 acre feet still. One of these days I'll learn to turn it on. So, we're right at 27,000 acre feet, a little bit down from a few weeks ago, and 106 feet. It's interesting. Over the last week, we did get we can monitor next door, but we cannot respond to next door as an organization, and we're monitoring it. And when our name pops up, we know it. And we had a citizen ask a question. It's a good question. They thought Reuter Hess looked really low, and they're wondering why. And we always encourage our customers to call us because we'll probably know more than most. And I can understand why the question was asked, because with the freeze, it kind of blends in with the ground and stuff. But it was interesting, and as that conversation continued, as I like to say, the subject matter experts on Nextdoor got it wrong, and they didn't really address the question, but the conversation went into. We got hoodwinked because there's no recreation. I think last year we had 84,000 people visit the Reuter S. Rec campus. It just kind of went that route. And so I bring that up because my next subject is our Citizens Academy. And so during this conversation on Reuter Hess, one of our members, our graduating members, weighed in because they can, as a citizen, provided factual information, gave them links to this graph that shows that actually Reuter S is at one of the highest points it's been in the history of it being online. And it just points to having a group of stakeholders out there that get to know us and know what we do is so valuable. She was able to provide them a lot of information in a very kind way. And, it killed the vibe, but it did provide a lot of good information to those following it. So I bring this up because our next Citizens Academy kicks off in April. And I'm telling people that I know, and I would just ask the board if they know anybody to let them know. We would love to get another good group like we did last year, and so we can do it all over again.
Do they sign up on the website? Is that how they do it?
There is a form on the website to get to, but they can call any one of us here, and we'll get them to the right spot. So we look forward to that. So I think it's been 2 weeks ago, Congresswoman Boebert came in. She wanted to learn more about our long-term water plan, the Platte Valley Water Project. And so we had an outstanding meeting with her and her staff. We invited the lower, Joe Frank, who runs the Lower Water Conservation Board out in Sterling, and Jim Yon, who runs Pruitt Reservoir and North Sterling Reservoir. And those two, along with our chief engineer, Rebecca Tata, gave a presentation. We gave her the shorter version, but it still lasted with questions and comments over an hour and 15 minutes or so. And it was really, really a great connect point with Congressman Boebert. She is extremely knowledgeable on Colorado water law, and she supports what we're doing, working together with the farming community versus not. And so she's very supportive of that and has offered to help. Probably the biggest thing I took away from this meeting is there was a congressional breakfast about a week and a half prior to her coming to visit us. And Senator Bennett was talking about our project in a favorable light at this meeting that Congressman Boebert was at. So he went on we gave him a tour last summer, and I think it's outstanding that he's talking about it and thinks, it's a good plan. But it's even more outstanding to know that our congressional delegation works together when it comes to Colorado issues. So it was a great day, and I think one that's going to pay dividends. She is asked to come back. She hasn't seen the reservoir. She'd like to go on that. She has an interest in the Native American partners that we have associated with the reservoir. So we look forward to giving her a tour of that as well. And then finally, I wanted to give the board an update on the North Plant lease. We have I think a great fit. Leasee coming in, but I want to run it by the board and just make sure there's no red flags at all. It's an IT company, and it's a legit IT company. We checked, they work for a purchasing card company in the compliance side. And so there's 10 to 12 people. They don't have a public interface. They're IT guys. They show up. They want to lease the second floor and just work out of there. Their only request was a refrigerator and a dishwasher on the second floor. If you remember the last folks we talked to, they wanted about $1 million worth of changes. So I love this. So that's something we can do. They're paying the going rate. It's $23 a square foot plus utilities, and that goes up 50 cents a square foot every year. They wanted a long-term lease. We pulled it back to, I believe the first one is 5 years, and the second one is 5. We pulled it back to a 10-year lease only because the next expansion of the wastewater plant, we have no issues with space. We worry about the expansion beyond that. We don't know what the regulations are, and there's a chance we'll need this area for treatment of whatever the constituents are at the time. So that takes place, and we start talking about it in about 12 years. So we wanted to end the lease a little sooner. If it's not going to happen, then we could go further, but it's basically a 10-year lease. And so what this would do is put a fairly low maintenance group on the second floor. We can program the elevator, so only to get to their floor, you have to have a card and a key access. What I'm thinking is we take it off the market after that, because we accelerated the wastewater plant expansion a couple of years, so we're 18 months to 24 months away from having contractors out there, and we want to use the first floor and the conference rooms for, instead of them leasing trailers and dropping temporary power, that costs us, because that gets passed on to us, in the tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars for the duration of a construction project. We want them to use this building to help us save that money. So that would be the first floor. And then the third floor, we'd like to leave it for our staff over there. And we're looking into some innovative partnerships in which we could use an office or two as well. So what I see this is leasing the second floor, utilizing the first to offset some major expenses in the next couple of years, and then just having that space up there if needed for staff or outside partners. So if there's any concerns, let me know. It doesn't have to be tonight. The idea is to bring this to the board at the next meeting for your approval.
Question, how, will we set a meter or have, in terms of like electricity that they would be using, how would we differentiate that?
We don't have the ability to do that, so the approach that we're going to take is a average cost per square foot. We compare it to what the industry offices use, and we know what we spend. But what the problem we have is, our gas usage is between this building and the wastewater plant. So there's some big numbers. But the idea is to go with averages for office buildings in the area.
Will they have, as an IT company, are they going to have some large computers coming in, or is this more just like laptops?
They do. We do have a server room there that we're not using. They're going to use it. I'm not sure how large is, but they definitely, the server room was something they really liked. Plus, we have uninterruptible power to it, so that was a selling benefit to them. But I don't see like massive equipment coming in, but they'll definitely have a server room.
Any other questions?
So the finished square feet on each one of those floors is somewhere around 4,000?
It's a little over 4,000, yes.
Yeah, okay. Do we have emergency generators there?
We do.
And so those will be functional for them?
Well, we have little emergency generators.
A small one.
Yeah. We don't have the big ones to run the plant. The way the plant
Yeah,
is.
but for the uninterruptible power in the office, that would come from the generator that we have?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. So it's really a nice fit.
Yeah, I feel it is. 10 to 12 people, but they rotate a lot, so they don't think there'll be more than 5 or 6 a day. They do want 16 parking places, so we have plenty of parking, so that wasn't a problem either. So,
God knows what kind of hours they work, right?
yeah.
Sounds like a good fit.
So we'll bring you the details, and we'll write a memo that lays it out for you. But they would like to get in as soon as possible, and we have no reason not to. Okay, I'm going to pass this off to James.
Okay. Good evening. Tonight is the night for numbers. So I did something a little bit different this time around. Rather than graphs and things like that, we have a little more interactive display for you here. So this one, what it shows is if we start with our average production, this is the last 3 months, and this is 1 million gallons per day. As you can see, in January, it was 5.66. And then we go from there over to our water reclamation facilities. And January was 4.14 million gallons. And then our return flows, looking at our return flows into Cherry Creek and what ends up going up to Reuter Hess, 4.21 million gallons per day. And the volume for Reuter Hess in acre feet, and January was at 26,908. And then since we take our water from Reuter Hess, going over here to our water plant and the Wise water that comes into the district, January was 2.97. You'll see in November there's 0 because Wise was down, as well as the water purification facility for maintenance. And then our combined flows from our well houses in January made up 2.69 million gallons. And all that together, the Wise and the water plant and our well houses, 5.66 million gallons for January. So I think it's just a different way to look at this rather than just bar graphs or something.
I like
James,
that.
Quick question then. So in non-watering months, 5.66 is probably going to be about what we'll be using on a monthly basis?
December and January were both 5.6. So as there's more population, obviously it's going to go up, but yeah, that's correct. Any other questions about this?
No, this is very cool.
I like the
Yeah.
format.
I wish I could take credit for it, but it's my staff that put this together for us.
Very cool.
This is a graph showing you the renewable water percent for the district over the last 3 years. And when you see this dropping down to 0 down here or below, 0 here and below 10%, either the water plant was off and Wise, or just the water plant was off. But this is the percentage that is renewable in our system at any given month, based on Wise and the water plant.
Does this include return flows?
This does. No, this is just the water. Well, the return flows that go up to Reuter has to make it to the water plant. Yes.
Yeah,
In
so
that
that's in
sense,
there.
yes.
Yeah, and anything that would happen to come out of Cherry Creek if you were pumping. you had-
Ultimately, that makes it to the water plant.
And then Wise, so.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we count the Wise, though, as renewable water? Because that's really what it is.
It is part of this, what goes through the water plant.
Right, but the water itself is coming from renewable sources. It's not coming from groundwater, so I think we should.
It is. These graphs show it as renewable water.
Yeah, it's part of these graphs.
If you look at the bottom of the graph, you'll see the renewable, it's a water purification facility plus Wise.
Yeah.
So we're getting both of them.
Yeah. And
The two different lines, one shows, the actual month, and the dotted line is the average.
yeah, the linear average going. Did I lose that? Oh, there it is. I guess it's dying. My fingers, oh, there we go. Okay, so over time, since 2023, you can see that it's going up. That's an important part of this graph to show you. But I thought it was interesting as a display.
So are you going to bring the previous slide and this slide to every meeting?
I can, for sure, absolutely. That was my intent, was to do that. And at the next meeting, I was planning on doing an update on the year in review.
Oh, yeah.
A little more.
Yeah, it'd be good to update it rather than just bring the same slide.
But the year in review is what you gave us last year, which was the whole year, right?
Yes, sir.
So this will add 2024 to that data that you had before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yep.
good data.
So this is our demand over the past 3 years, and you can see that there's a change there, and you can't really see it in there, but that's January. There's a little green dot underneath there. But as we go into the months, it'll start to show, and we'll be able to look and see how it compares to the last couple of years. And on the right, you can see the reservoir filling statistics, what 2024 looked like, and I believe how much water we put up into the reservoir in 2024. And so we'll be bringing that I'll be bringing that to you each time we do the numbers update. For 2024, it was...
So I got the numbers from James. In 2024, we put 7,383 acre feet away into the reservoir, and we pulled out just a tad over 3,000. So over 4,000 acre feet stayed in the reservoir in 2024. So, which reflects how much it's come up in the last year. Okay. Do you mind going back one?
Yeah, sorry.
The chart on the left, the 3-year, just mainly for the audience that's tuning in, that seems like a big difference, and there is, but the 2023 year was a very, very wet year. And then the 2024, the one that's above it, is more of an average year. So it does look like a big increase in demand, but it's really reflective of our cool, wet 2023 summer.
So the red line is 2023?
Yes, this one is the lower one. It's just,
Yeah.
it got missed.
That's what
here.
happened.
Yeah, so it just puts it in context.
Yeah.
And these are our water quality calls, 2024, and what's happening in January. We got a few other calls. It's always interesting to get people's perspective on what the water has, if it has a taste. A lot of people, when they move into town, are used to different water, and they'll describe the water differently.
James, it's interesting the moldy taste on there, because I've been experiencing that at my house, and I thought, well, am I crazy or not? But it's like, if you ever been into like a raspberry that's molded there, and I've been seeing that at my house, and I thought, well, maybe it's just taste. I was curious as to what we think might cause that.
We believe that the reason why we're getting that particular description is when the plant started up, they were dialing in the powdered activated carbon, which removes taste and odor from the water. And so there was a little bit of time period when that wasn't optimized. And so that moved through the system, and you could actually track it as it moved through the different neighborhoods, and you would get calls from folks in the different areas. And I believe that it's resolved itself now that we've gotten the plant back up and running. This one is our wastewater influent flows for 23 and 24, and you begin to see 25. And these are the combined, up at the top, this is the combined wastewater flows for the two plants. So as we move wastewater from the south plant to the north plant, the blue line goes down, the red line, or orangish, brownish line goes up a little bit. Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here today to give you an update on the Wise Pump Station. This is a 3D rendering of the Wise Pump Station, and currently the Wise Pump Station is on schedule and on budget. This right here is the top button, right? This is actually the pump station here, and then this right here, this piece right here is underground, and it is the flow control vault, and then it's going to connect to the Ridgegate Wise line. And this is the structure that's being built behind our purification facility over here. So I wanted to show you some of the construction pictures. So this first picture here is the rebar and conduit that was laid for the floor slab. This picture shows the concrete slab being in place. This picture shows that the walls are going vertical. This is the inside wall here and the exterior wall here. This shows the chemical lines that are coming from the existing building that will be going into our chemical building for the Wise Pump Station. And inside these pipes are the smaller tubing that will carry the actual chemicals in place. So in the estimated substantial completion is end of September. Are there any questions? Okay.
Good evening, directors. I first wanted to point out, you may notice that there's some new microphones in the room as well. You have them in front of you. They're a demo unit that we are trying out tonight and looking to purchase to enhance the communications we have in the room. And you'll notice that you have speakers in front of you in the microphone set as well. And you may not be hearing me through that speaker right now because those demo units are connected to each other. So you will hear the speakers from only the microphones in that unit. I noticed you asking questions about that. And so once we actually purchase these and integrate them with the room, you will hear all the microphones through that radio, so you can hear that communications from anywhere.
I'm game.
I wanted to bring up our email interactions. You'll see that we're peaking over 40,000 emails allowed into our system when we're blocking 16% of them. That's a lot of blocked emails coming into our system. We're seeing an increase in spam across our firewalls.
Question on that, because I notice I get so much spam mail on my Parker Water email, and it's like almost like subscriptions of different things in there, and I never sign up for any of this stuff, but it appears, I try and get rid of it as fast as I can, but I can't keep up with it. Is there anything we can do to filter that out? Because there is just so much.
Sure. My team is constantly working to optimize how we filter them out and block them, but balance it with the fact that if we become too restrictive, then we actually don't get the conversations with our vendors and communications from third parties. So it's always a balance there. And we found that when we become too restrictive, all of a sudden we miss those communications. What we are noticing is that as the technologies, AI and stuff, become more advanced, those spam are much more difficult to block. So we are engaging some of the more advanced technologies and evaluating how we can continue to optimize and remove as many of those as possible. There are some tools and functions. I'm happy to work with you offline on how we can start blocking them for your individual user, and we can take that offline and help out anytime.
Okay, appreciate it.
Along with that threat landscape, this is our what we're blocking, and you see spyware is peaking. But I wanted to highlight, and when you look at this, it kind of looks like, oh, we're doing fantastic. There's zero activity against our firewall. We had an important change that hopefully none of you noticed, was that in our community, as we moved to the headquarters here, all of our internet traffic was funneling through the north plant. And my team works behind the scenes to make sure that all of our systems are up greater than 99% of the time. And over the last 2 weeks, we actually cut over to a new internet service provider here at the headquarters, so we have redundant paths out in case we have any failures. So we have a communications point at the north plant and now at the headquarters as well. So we can go either direction so that our communications outside this organization stay intact. I wanted to bring up an important thing in the news that you may have seen recently. Cybersecurity experts across the world have now determined that DeepSeek is a potential risk to both government entities and also countries. So upon recommendation from our firewall company and in discussion with the executive team, we've made the decision to actually block DeepSeek AI from our facilities. And so our organization can no longer use that. The concern there was that as users want to interact with AI, some of these systems want to data mine that information and use it for their purposes. And as we start to grapple with AI in the future, we'll be working to implement a singular point that we can interact with one technology and one platform across the entire organization.
And that's the Chinese, right? DeepSeek is theirs.
That is correct.
You'll see that mine is not up there because I don't have anything to discuss with you in public, but I'm happy to answer any questions based on my legal update if you have anything, but nothing to really address in a public meeting, so.
Okay.
Steve?
Steve, do you have anything? Okay.
Oh, I have something for Steve, if this is the right place to do it.
Speak up.
Okay. So I want to make a request for some data to be included in the financial report. I sent an email to Ron this morning kind of to give him an idea what I was going to ask for, and he didn't tell me no. So I don't know if he bounced that to you or not. But I also wanted this to be with the whole board so you all understand what I'm asking for. And this is pretty simple, but what I'm asking to add to the monthly financial report is data. I would call it data in the context of how we view and monitor affordability. And this would maybe give us a little bit more of a view of the financial health of our customers. So the 4 things I'd like to see added would be the number of disconnections that we had in a month, the number of delinquencies that we have in a billing period, average bill amount for delinquent accounts, and total outstanding collectibles by aging. So there's really nothing under the surface here. I'd like to, I think, just get this data started. We see it every month. What we're looking for is to see if there's a change, that if the delinquent accounts start going up, or disconnections or things like that, that we have a little bit more of an insider view into the health of the lower income quintile of our customers. So if the board doesn't object, I'd like to ask Steve to do that.
Yeah. Is that something that you could easily do?
Yeah, I checked with billing earlier today because Ron did forward that over to me, and they do have that information. So we're going to try to get it on the next report. The other thing I requested from billing is we go back into 2023 too, to help provide some context, because you will see some seasonal differences as customers have higher summer bills. We do tend to see a higher number of delinquencies at that time.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Thank you. Okay, approval of minutes for the January 23rd, 2025 meeting. Do we have any corrections?
So moved.
We have a second?
I can second.
We have a second. We have a vote?
Yes.
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 We have unanimous. Accounts payable, January 16 to 31. Do we have any questions on that that haven't been answered?
I have none.
None? Hearing none. Do we have a motion?
So moved?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a vote?
Yes.
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 Unanimous. Request for approval, engineering services agreement with RJH Consultants.
So we have Heather Justice here today in place of Rebecca Tejada, and she will be shepherding these engineering requests through tonight.
Good evening, Board, and I'm happy to be here tonight to share these requests with you. This one is for engineering services agreement with RJH Consultants Incorporated.
You're awfully light. You might have to get it closer to you.
Is that better?
Much better, yes.
Should I start over? You
Can you try Steve's?
want me to try Steve's?
Oh, there's no wires even, so.
Can you hear me?
Oh, perfectly clear now.
Okay. I'll start over.
That's good.
This contract, for this one, we are requesting the approval of engineering services agreement with RJH Consultants, Inc. for a 4-bay analysis for the Platte Valley project. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of this project. The Platte Valley Water Partnership Project is our long-term renewable water solution that will utilize junior water rights to divert surface water from the South Platte River near Sterling, Colorado. The project benefits both municipal and agricultural interests without any buy and dry of agricultural lands. Our partners are Lower South Platte Water Conservancy District and the town of Castle Rock. To give you a little bit of background with our geotechnical evaluations, the first evaluation was in 2020, and RJH completed the initial Fremont View geotechnical evaluation for inclusion in the preliminary engineering report that was submitted to Water Court. In 2023, we competitively bid the Fremont Butte Dam conceptual design, and that was awarded to RJH. That analysis was included in our expert engineering reports, which were submitted to Water Court in September of 2024. The important thing to know about the 2023 contract is that it was for expert testimony engineering design. And so this contract, which is phase 2 of this project, is for advisory engineering services and not expert testimony services. And we were advised by our attorneys, Jeff Parker and Bob Crossa, that we needed to change the contract to explicitly say that it was advisory and not expert testimony. So that's why this is a contract rather than an amendment. So we're now ready to move into this phase of this project, and I wanted to show you where the 4 bays are. So here is Pruitt Reservoir. This is our original application, was that we were going to use part of Pruitt Reservoir as a 4-bay. This does not need to be analyzed. Then we have 4-bay B, which is located here, 4-bay C, which is right off of the river, and this is close to the Pruitt Reservoir diversion. Then we have 4-bay D up in the uplands, and then we have 4-bay E, which is the site that we currently own, that we purchased in 2023.
Haystack.
Haystack, yep, Stingray Bay. See, it looks like a stingray. So the scope of work is pretty limited. Right now, this scope includes an high-level evaluation of the 4 bays, an evaluation of what those potential liners could be in the area. It also does give us some support for water court, specifically against other court cases that we are opposers in. And then some general project management activities.
So it's a given that regardless of location, it'll be aligned?
Yes. Yeah, it'll need to be lined because this area is very sandy and leaky. Yep. So a little bit of the budget impact, what we are asking for approval is $150,000 for this contract. The 2025 Platte Valley Engineering General Studies budget allocation has $710,000 in it, and that comes from the Engineering General Studies, which has a little bit more than 1.5 million in it. And that leaves us $560,000 remaining for additional engineering services for the Platte Valley specifically projects.
Why are we including Pruitt in that? My understanding is they weren't interested in participating with us, so why spend money on that one?
We're not evaluating Pruitt in that. We are, let me see if I can go back. This scope only includes reservoirs B, C, D, and E.
Okay.
So, but Pruitt Reservoir folks have expressed interest in talking, and so that's always an option out there as well. But there's no money being spent on it because we've already done it.
Yeah.
Who owns the land for, oh, you moved it, B, C, and D?
Director Langley, I know that, but I don't know that right now.
It's private ownership.
Private, okay.
Yeah.
Except C, I believe, is owned by a Metro District.
Yes. Winn-Dixie.
Pardon me?
Winn-Dixie.
Yeah. Who also want to develop water rights. So again, there's a potential partnering there.
Okay. I thought that was a grocery store.
Yeah, exactly, in Florida. And a dog.
Are there any other additional questions?
But, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the intent mostly was to put the 4-bay right on the property that we owned.
That is one of our options, but
But I thought that was,
It absolutely is an intent to do that, but it may not be the best location for a reservoir of, how do I say, it's going to be used. It might be a reservoir to help pull out the sediment, but it may not be a reservoir to line. So the property will be used in some way, but we're going to look at it, see if it could be used for the complete reservoir. It's a little smaller. It's 230 acres. So.
Robert has a question.
Thank you. Question is, was there any consideration on this contract for small business utilization?
RJH is a small business, is classified as a small business.
So we have, even without that, is there any considerations in the contract that recognizes that?
No.
No. This is something that is going to be in our purchasing policy that was going to come for the board for discussion, whether it's small business, MBEs, WBs. That policy is almost done. We did lose our purchasing manager recently, but that is something that the board will be discussing. But this contract does not have that language in there. It just so happens the contractor is a certified small business.
Their website says 35 employees, what their website says. So pretty small.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I can't get this.
I mean, a point of interest, RJH did a lot of, or all of the Reuter Hess Dam and spillway work, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so pretty known entity to us for sure.
Right, and I believe when we bid this out, there was one other contractor that submitted, but we selected RJH.
Seth, if you can go to the request page, please.
Do you want to go to the
Slide
next
8, please.
slide?
Okay,
There it goes.
do you have Robert or Brooke? Is that what the hand wave was about? No?
We were having trouble with the.
Okay. All right. If there are any other questions, let's have, is there a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Do we have a vote?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we have,
Did we get everybody?
is Robert, you with us?
Yeah, I think we're going to respond at the same time. It's
Okay. I only heard one. Thank you. Okay, so we have an approval, unanimous vote on that. Request for approval, contract with KP Ventures for Denver Basin well drilling.
Sure. Want me to start out? I'm happy to start out. So I think staff's going to run you through the actual reason why they made their recommendation, but I just want to respond to the representative of Lane's comments. You know, I do recognize that Lane's done a lot of work for Parker Water over the years, and I don't have any issues with that. I don't think the board does or the staff do, but when their bid was opened and looked at, it was determined that it was basically non-responsive to all the requirements of the bid. Partially because it did not include services that Parker Water required to be bid on, and then partially because the cover letter that accompanied the bid included a number of impermissible conditions that basically rendered their bid conditional upon various factors, and that's not permitted in response to a bid. And that also led us to not be able to determine what the final price would end up being based upon those conditions and based upon the omitted services that were required to be bid on. And as a note, there is opportunity for all potential bidders, if they're considering bidding, to submit questions to Parker Water staff if they have any concerns, need any clarifications. And the other two contractors that actually were found to have submitted responsive bids did actually submit questions, and Lane did not submit any questions. So that would have been a better opportunity for them to seek clarification on items rather than conditioning their bid upon certain clarifications. And so after considering it seriously, it was not taken lightly. Lane's bid was basically determined to be not responsive and they were therefore disqualified from consideration. So that's the reasoning behind what happened.
Thank you.
Heather?
Good evening. Tonight we have Eric Jorgensen, who is our Water Resources Project Manager, who has done a lot of work for us and some great work. He will be presenting this request for approval to you tonight.
Thank you, board, for having me. If you don't remember me, I'm Eric Jorgensen. I came a few months ago on another item. As Heather said, I'm a water resource project manager, and tonight I am going to be presenting you with a contract for the drilling of 2 new Denver Basin wells at a site we're now calling Hess 3. The 2 wells, one will be in the Arapahoe Aquifer and the other one will be in the Denver Aquifer. located in what's going to be the Looking Glass neighborhood, which is, let me try this, at the intersection of South Chambers Road and Stroh Road. This area is undergoing heavy development and construction right now. I'm not sure that Chambers is fully open to the public yet at this point. But the well site will be on the southeast corner of that intersection. And once the wells are drilled and the raw water will be pumped along Stroh Road to Rooter Hess Well House. And as anticipated, both of them in combination are anticipated to produce around 1 MGD. And as Jeff mentioned, we have 2 qualified bidders, one from KP Ventures and one from Hydro Resources. Both were very close in price, but KP Ventures was the lowest bid at $3.6 million. We asked the bidders to provide their cost into 4 main categories. One for the drilling and construction of the well, and another for the pumping and electrical equipment associated with it, and then this for both Arapahoe and Denver. As you see, the total here is 3.6, and we're requesting a 10% staff managed contingency as well, bringing it to a total of 3.9 million. The overall budget for this work is 10.8 million. You subtract out this drilling contract for 3.9 and 135,000 for ongoing work with Hazen and Sawyer for the design of the conveyance pipeline and site work. That leaves us with 6.7 million for construction activities, which I feel like we're in good shape. Are there any questions?
Will the wells be filtered? Will we be putting filters on those, or will we run them to another filtering site?
Great question. I forgot to mention that. There are filters at the Rooter Hess Well House, so it will be filtered, chlorinated, and sent to distribution there.
Any other questions?
Director Klotz, if I may, it might be helpful. Lane is an important contractor. They do a lot of work for us and others in the area. I would want to offer to meet with them and just make sure we go through our process so things like this don't happen in the future. So I just want to put that out there that it's something that I would be and the team would be willing to do.
No, they're definitely a reputable firm, and I think it's a good suggestion.
Yeah, you had 6 million for conveyance. I assume that's a pipeline from the Hess 3 house then to the Rooter Hess Well House?
Yeah, there is some existing pipeline already. Go back to this slide. So right here is an existing Hess 1 well. There is, I believe it's a 20-inch line going to Rooter Hess Well House. So this will tie in here. There's going to be, site work and also some work in Rooter Hess Well House that will also be needed, electrical upgrades, possibly pumping upgrades too, to handle this additional flow. So yeah, there'll be maybe not as much pipeline as at the Badger Gulch wells, the ones on Ridgegate, but there are going to be some upgrades at Rooter Hess.
And then the point of connection, would that be the right term, to the system is at the Rooter Hess Well House? I mean, that's where
Yes.
that's where it go into the system, right?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. And when I read the letter, I thought it said we were going to the Rooter Hess Reservoir. And I thought, what? why would we do that? So, thank you.
Any other questions? Brooke or Robert?
I have one. It's similar to my previous question. It's more in terms of what would be ramifications if this were to be deferred until a time that we have resolution on a path forward for small businesses, that consideration. Is that I guess that's for questions for Ron, on the timing of contract adjustments for that small business and what the kind of the plan is for the district moving forward and how that relates to this contract if it were deferred to a time where we could have that resolved.
I would, so what I think I heard is when will we have this discussion and when will it be incorporated into our contracts? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
accurate.
So we have a draft purchasing policy, and our idea was to bring forward the comments made months ago before we started this on setting aside a certain percentage of work for certain entities or certain, I don't know what you call them, like small businesses. And so we have a draft. Steve is going through it right now, and we'll definitely have that in front of you before Steve leaves to Florida. But I would say probably in the next couple months, we should be finalized. We actually could bring forward that component of it and discuss it sooner than later so we can get some direction on that.
Yeah, I know that's off topic on this, but I definitely encourage, sooner than later on that topic. But for this project, what are the ramifications if we were to defer this until those conversations and direction are made? What are the impacts?
Right. So my concern with delaying this contract is it's a water supply project that takes up to 2 years. So I'd just be nervous. We try to plan and get ahead, but it's going to take 18 months probably before water shows up in the system. And so I don't know how long the conversation on the percentages would be. I would prefer that we don't defer a water supply project.
Yeah, I would agree.
Bill, you have a comment?
I would agree with that this is too critical of a project to hold up for an administrative decision.
We will get this front and center to you guys as quickly as we can. It's been something we've talked about probably a year now, so it's certainly due. But again, I think it.
Can we maybe put together something like showing right now what percentage of our purchases are small business? Is that something that could be done without a lot of work?
It would actually be quite a bit of work because right now we don't have any purchasing that is directed to special, like small business or minority business or anything like that.
Right, but we do like RJR, was it RJR, what RJH, whatever, they were a small business, so I was just curious if, not that we were specifically going out after that, but just in the normal course of business, we do have some of our vendors qualify for that. I was just, if it wasn't too much, but if it's, I don't want to put a lot of staff time on that. It was only a suggestion.
My opinion is it would take some time because, again, we don't have an established list. So first, we would have to say, what list are we going to do, such as Denver or the state of Colorado, and then go back and see if those vendors are actually purchasing that we do with those companies.
Okay, I think this is important, and I would appreciate that we can move on that in a reasonable period of time and get that discussion moving forward.
Absolutely.
So, any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I get a motion and a second. Do we have a vote?
Yes.
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 No.
Okay. 4 yeses and 1 no. It passes. Request for approval contract with Jacobs Engineering for design services.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tonight, we're going to have Alex Safranco, who is our CIP project engineer, will be presenting this approval for you tonight.
Good evening. Like Heather said, my name is Alex Safranco. So some background on the oxygenation system in Rooter Hess Reservoir. Jacobs was selected in March of 2022 through competitive bid. They worked on the design and made it through 95% in December of 2022. The project was put on hold temporarily just due to budget needed elsewhere. The actual design of the system consists of 3,300 linear feet of pipe that'll be trenched up the backside of the dam and then will be on the surface of the other side, and then goes down underneath the reservoir water. There'll also be one 9,000-gallon liquid oxygen storage tank near the terminal facility at the reservoir and a canopy structure over top of that. So now this new contract in the 2025 budget, it includes the completion of the design with Jacobs to 100%. They'll work on any necessary permitting to finish that design and then provide bidding assistance through this contract and also services during construction. As far as the budget goes, from 0 to 95%, it was about $279,000, and that came from a separate budget completely. That project number was closed, and then we reopened this project under a different project number. And then this current contract is $272,690 to complete the design, provide bidding assistance, and services during construction. And I'd also like to point out that a majority of this contract amount is for the services during construction. We have $2.6 million in the CIP budget for this year to complete the project. And the construction costs are still to be determined. However, we have $2.3 million remaining for that construction.
What's the ongoing operational cost of this?
So I don't know the exact numbers. I believe we'll be leasing the liquid oxygen tank from a company, so we won't be in charge of any of the maintenance associated with the tank.
We'll have to pay for the oxygen.
Right, and then
So
there'll be.
what do we anticipate that's going to cost us?
I believe it's like $3,000 per month is what Jacobs had estimated.
Yeah. Can you go back to the first,
Yes. Go ahead.
Bill?
the first slide?
Okay.
And then go ahead.
So we anticipate this being completed this year, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, certainly from a fish management point of view, I'm extremely happy with this because oxygenating the water, but will certainly help the fish environment. But in terms of I'm not quite sure how this thing envisioned, because I thought when we were going to oxygenate, I kind of envisioned where you're pumping water into the air and just, drawing it from deep and letting it go. So I was kind of surprised when we talked about injecting, I guess that's what we're doing, liquid oxygen into it. And what do we exactly hope what is it going to do for us?
Correct. So the one picture there, the drawing that kind of shows the pipeline that would run along the bottom of the reservoir, and the oxygen would come out of that pipeline, and it sequesters any sort of nutrients that are in unwanted nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen that would combine and sequester into the sediment of the bottom of the reservoir.
So like in August, when we get those outbreaks of flora and so on in there, will this help mitigate that?
Yes, yeah, it would also delay the turnover period of the water, so the water would stay fresher throughout the year for a longer period of time.
The oxygen, well, I call it a bubbler, what you described, where you just pump air in, they have not been very successful, at least in the Front Range. They're hit and miss. This is taking the oxygen and basically when they say infuse it, it's small particles being put in there. So they have a much higher success rate in achieving the goal of water quality than the more old school things that we always seen where you're just bubbling water up. So that's the main difference.
So are we going to be able to fish by this?
I'm sure that will be a prime spot, yeah.
This is the same type of system that Aurora uses in Aurora Reservoir. And they've actually seen reductions in their chemical usage at their water treatment plant.
So is the dashed line the line that's under the water?
So actually, it's the solid line that goes off to the west of the dam. That will be the original one. The dashed line is.
Is the line going to the left, the bubbler line?
Yes, the bubbler line, or the oxygenation line goes to the left, and then that dashed line is the future expansion of the system. So once we're closer to full pool of the reservoir, additional oxygen would be needed to achieve the same results.
So, is that out in the middle of where the water is today?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the deepest part of the reservoir.
Oh, okay. I assume the lock system will then also have a vaporizer to go along with it? Or you going to use the pressure in the locks tank to pressurize the bubbling line, or don't know?
I'm not sure how it works.
Okay.
I could find out.
Not a big deal. Special permit requirements for a locks tank, that's a pretty big tank. Is there fire code hazards, or, it's down in an area that's maybe has some wildfire potential down there, or is it pretty clean?
Yeah, no, it's in an operational area now that's utilized. It's graded out. We have a structure down there.
Okay. The one you can see from the road, is that what we're talking?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, okay.
Director Langley, this, I think you mentioned that this is going to be leased from the company.
James, can you speak up?
I'm sorry. I believe he mentioned it's going to be leased from the company. So they actually have a system where they would know when the tank is starting to go down, and they would actually they manage all of the maintenance on this. That's one of the advantages.
The tank talks to the home company and says,
that's right.
"Come fill me." Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's pretty standard for liquid gas things.
Aurora, I believe, owns theirs.
Robert, any question?
I have.
Okay.
I can show you a picture too. This picture here is the locks tank at Aurora's Binney Water Treatment Plant.
And that's a vaporizer beside it.
Yeah. Okay. Being no more questions, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Do we have a vote?
Yes.
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 You have approval. Request for approval, contract amendment number 3 for HDR.
I'll be presenting this one for your guys' approval tonight. This is for the board approval of Amendment 3 of the HDR Engineering Services contract for the pipeline from Regional to Cherry Creek Pump Station. The pipeline will help the district with our goal to maximize the ability to deliver treated wastewater effluent to the Rudder Hess Reservoir. Just to give you a little bit of background, in 2022, the conveyance alternative analysis was completed by Black & Veatch, and this study helped us narrow down how to meet the goal of moving our treated wastewater effluent up to Rudder Hess Reservoir. And from that study, we chose the Regional to Cherry Creek Pump Station pipeline. In 2023, we competitively bid the pipeline design, and it was awarded to HDR. The pipeline is a 24-inch pipeline to offer the operational flexibility of flows. It also gives us a gain of 18.5 MGD, million gallons per day. In February of 2022, we had our first amendment, number 1, and what this did was added a sub-consultant to complete a tree survey to meet the requirements of Town of Parker's land development ordinances. In March of 2024, we completed amendment number 2. Actually, I'm sorry, the first amendment, that's a typo on the slide. It should be February 2023. I apologize for that. March of 2024, amendment number 2 included the design of a fiber optic conduit. The design did not include that conduit, and we decided it needed it. And then we also realized that the design did not include, the scoping did not include a flow meter that is towards the end of the pipeline. And then we also requested HDR to do an alternative alignment study for Stroh Road crossing that to decide whether we should do an open cut or tunneling. We, at the time, in March of 2024, we didn't think that our alignment was going to align with Town of Parker on their bridge work, but then they accelerated their program, which leads to part of the amendment for tonight. So in March of 2024, we had decided to move with tunneling. Now, February 2025, Amendment 3, we need to complete the design. We had gone from 95%, we need to move it to 100%. The town decided that we needed to add the tree survey to the design drawings. Originally, they had said we did not. They changed their mind. And then also the Town of Parker moved up their construction for the Stroh Bridge. So we're able to do an open cut rather than tunneling. And then the majority of this project is for the services during construction. Well, I kind of explained all this, didn't I? But brief over, a lot of words of what I just said for Amendment 3 is the 100% design completion, the tree survey coordination, the package, so we have to complete a full package for the Stroh Road crossing design to be added into the town's construction package, because we're going to have an agreement with them and pair those two. And then our engineering services during construction.
With the tree survey, are we obligated to put a certain number of trees in there, or we just do saying this is what it should be and the town will put the trees in?
We can do one of two things. We can either replace the trees in kind, or we can pay the determined amount worth of the tree. So part of the tree survey, the arborist determined what the value of the tree was or is, based on age and condition. And
so we anticipate probably destroying some trees in the process, is that?
Yes. And there are some trees that we have redesigned around to save.
Any other questions?
I have a couple. So can you go back a couple slides to your dates where we show March 2023, March 2024 for the tree survey and the Stroh Road? Yeah, there you go. So this amendment is to pick up, if I understand it correctly, some of the town of Parker requests, betterments, or how it as it relates to, I guess, the plans, if I understand it correctly, that was this, I guess, the town of Parker requirements not known at the time Amendment 2 and Amendment 1 were issued? My question is why wasn't HDR aware of what the town of Parker requirements were as they entered into Amendment 1 and 2? It seems to me like it should have been known ahead of time.
That's a great question, Director Knopf. I was part of Amendment Number 1 in asking those questions to the town of Parker, and I did ask the question if the tree survey needed to be incorporated into our final design, and had sent the town multiple emails with examples of what had been done in the past. And they had told us that it did not need to be incorporated into the design at that time. But since you submit your designs at 95% to the town, and at the time of submittal earlier this year, they did change their mind and requested that the tree survey be incorporated into the design. There was some staff changeover.
They also released their new version of the landscape development ordinances, correct?
That is correct.
So did it tie to that, or is that just coincidental, or they're just kind of a fluid group and we have to go along?
I can't guess.
Okay.
That, for me, that's kind of difficult with the town of Parker in terms of, their ability to agree to something at a 95% level and then change their mind, and the impact comes back to us where we have to fund their change at a 95%. That seems like there's some type of maybe some interagency agreements that can't happen. That seems that's like an open checkbook for us. I mean, they can change their mind again and again and again unless we lock them down with what exactly their requirements are. That our teams that we contract out with know what they're up against. Otherwise, some of these costs could keep skyrocketing. Who's to say they wouldn't change their mind again we have an Amendment 4 to go back to what we just changed. And likely that's not going to happen. However, I think we need to have something in place that something like this does not happen with not just with the town of Parker, but as we move forward with other contracts and other municipalities. If that were to happen, it just seems to me like it's something that we need to tighten up. And I know it's I understand with this particular amendment what it's for, and it's for changes from the town of Parker that impact us. But I just my concern is in the future that we do something with the town of Parker that eliminates that. Because what I did hear is they had a change in staff, so that means it's a change of opinion. And what's to say that staff won't change again, the opinion won't change? And I think we need to have something contractually that locks it down, so we don't have to foot costs for things of like a change of an opinion. Thank you.
Director Knopf, I certainly absolutely appreciate that comment. It's one that I can use to start a conversation. It's a very frustrating process. The town is not as bad as others, and I won't mention names, but we have an epidemic of folks changing their mind or requiring things even after we built stuff. And so it gives me a little more authority to take it to the managers that I meet with and say, hey, this is getting noticed by our board. What can we do about it? So I appreciate that.
I think as we move forward on the Platte Valley project, with all the issues that are bound to rise there, I think we're going to be subject to a lot more of this kind of issue. And I don't know what you can do to prevent other than make a case up front. I think part of the issue here is we're talking 3 years between 25 and 22. And so that leaves the window open for changes that otherwise likely wouldn't occur. But I think we're stuck with it.
Yeah,
And,
it's just, it's a common occurrence that we have to deal with. And it's something, we do plan review as well. And it's something our team really works hard on, is catching the issues the first time around so you don't have to go back. Every once in a while we'll miss something and we have to go back, but it's rare. But this is definitely an issue with municipalities.
You mind if I make a comment on that?
Please.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the details of what happened in this situation, but the law is generally that at the time you file your application, those are the rules that apply.
Yeah.
And so if a municipality or another governmental body changes their rules after your application's been filed, you get to follow the previous rules typically. If a staff member just tells you the wrong thing, and then they learn later, oh, hey, this is actually what should have applied, that's a little trickier. It's not a good practice. It causes issues, but the municipality may be able to do that. So it kind of depends upon what happened and when in this situation or other situations. So I think doing like a big project like the Platte Valley Water Project, key is make sure we have all the regulations reviewed carefully up front and not be surprised by some differing interpretation by a different municipality or governing body. And if we don't agree with their interpretation, push them back and making sure we have enough time to have that discussion to occur before we actually need to have something done like yesterday. So I think that's what we need to be looking at.
Any other comments?
So when do you think the actual work will go out to bid, and what's the anticipated completion date for the entire pipeline?
We expect that the construction contract will go out this quarter of 2025, and then we expect the pipeline to be completed in 2026.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Do you think we'll have our permit settled by then?
No.
No, yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
and we'll be talking about permits, but it was interesting. Colorado ranks worst in the union for permits. 2024, the health department released, the CDPHE released one permit, water quality permit. So.
Wow.
Okay.
That's because they fast-paced it.
So before we move on, I wanted to, so the town did us a favor as well. So there's always, I always
Yes.
try to be fair. So if you want to address that.
I do. So a couple of things. By doing the open cut with the town of Parker on the bridge, that saves us a tunneling under that existing bridge. And what I determined was that for this project, the difference was roughly 5 times greater if we tunneled. And it's also important to note that there are less risk associated with open cut than with tunneling. We have had failures with tunneling under specifically that bridge. So it really is a favor that they're doing. And adding the tree survey onto the final design is not a lot compared to
The savings from the bridge.
Exactly.
Open cut there, so.
Exactly. And what we're asking for this amendment is an authorization of $447. Sorry, no, a little more than that. $447,800. And we have Remaining funds allocated for construction are $12,734,000.
Any more questions? Do we have a motion? Oh, Robert, I jumped ahead of you.
Yeah, just want, I just want to be clear that I'm, not necessarily opposed to this amendment at all. It's just, I think, where we're at with some of these, I'm not going to call them betterments, but changes from the town of Parkhurst, but puts us in an unfortunate position that, but that's all. Just to be clear, I'm not opposed to the amendment, just the situation, I guess, with the town of Parker and preferential changes. That's it. Marlon?
Great, thank you.
Okay, seeing no more questions, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, do we have a vote?
Yes.
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 We've got unanimous approval. Informational discussion, Spy Point update.
Okay, we are ending tonight on a high point. We've asked Guy to come here. He has some exciting stuff to talk about, update on our Spry Point project.
Directors, if I may, you may have seen Guy at the front of our facilities in billing and customer care, but he's had a little bit of a change here at Parker Water, and I wanted to introduce him. Guy started with Parker Water and Sanitation District in 2012 as a customer service representative. Guy's talents with people integrity and technical acumen were quickly identified as an asset to Parker Water, and he's been promoted to a billing and customer care supervisor and operated in that role for years now. Over those years, Guy has become a key advocate for adoption of technology, knowledge development, safety initiatives, and was one of the founding members of our mission, vision, and values team. Guy's commitment to excellence, our staff, and our customers is why I'm delighted to introduce you to our new Technology Services Program Manager in the IT department now. So Guy is going to be responsible for all of our core enterprise systems, the computer maintenance management system, the customer information system, the financial system, the LIMS system, and all of those integrations across our organization. Guy, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you
So
very much.
what's your new title again?
Technology Services Program Manager.
Sounds good.
Kind of a long one, but it's a fun job. I've enjoyed it. I've been at it about a month so far and having a good time. It's definitely busy, a lot to do, but we're getting it done. And
Can you get that title all on a business card? Or do you have to use both sides?
This, do I need a little tall mic? This one's not.
He's a tall guy.
I'm a tall guy. Is that better? Oh, there we
Yes.
go.
Much
Yes,
better.
much better. Okay, yep. So, yeah, we're, I'm sorry, go ahead. Repeat the question.
Can you get your title all on a business card?
yeah.
On the front side?
Well, if I cut it down, it's Texer Pro Man. So it sounds like a superhero's name. So I think, yeah, that'll fit on there. So I'm looking forward to it. We've got a lot of stuff that we're working on here at Parker Water. It's really exciting. This is one of the more exciting parts. This is customer facing, so this is very critical. It's one of our most important, I think, projects that we've got going on right now. And it's really impactful. So I'm gonna kind of give you kind of an overview of what we've done, where we're going, and what's coming. And so Spry Point is the company that was selected. They actually offer an umbrella of products. They're all consolidated. They work together in a really beautiful way to bring excellent customer service, and it helps the organization. It really increases our efficiencies. And so the part I'm going to focus on the most tonight is the Spry CIS. That's Customer Information System. So I want to kind of, I know probably most of you know what this is at a high level, but I want to revisit it, how important it is. The customer information system is basically our cash register. It brings together our consumption from our metering system, puts it together with our customer data, and we generate the bills and then bring in the revenue. So we've got that function that it brings in most of the money for the district, or a big part. Account management. It's how we track our customers, how we keep track of their information. Gives us the ability to provide the customer service that we do. And also we can do customer financial transactions. That's anything from fees in the mid-cycle to mid-cycle billings, to when we have final transfers, when people move in, move out. So we can do all sorts of financial transactions during the month as well. The biggest part, too, of the customer information system that we've really got to take into account that most people don't realize is a lot of information is in the system, and we got to get a lot of that information out into the organization so they can use that for business intelligence to make decisions, et cetera. I put out I did put out, and now my replacement will do it for me, hundreds sometimes of data points a month and several reports. And this is used, and I think Mr. Langley has seen some of these reports, like the month-end report, it's very long and it has a lot of data in it, but it's really good stuff and it can be used by the organization to make decisions and save money. And to show, again, the importance of the system, in 2024, we processed over $46 million in financial activity through the current system. 265,000 billing statements were generated. And that was billed about 3.2 billion gallons of metered water. That's how we got the bills out the door for that kind of volume. 250,000 payments processed for that billing, and then about 6,000 customer service orders generated from that system. That's us going out and assisting customers with their specific premise-based, what we would call account or customer-specific issues. So you can see we do quite a big volume of business that relies on this system. Our legacy system, this takes us back. We had a long view. The system was installed back in the early 2000s. It's a very old system. It's decades-old technology. We knew this company stopped supporting it when they were bought out by Harris about 2017, 2018. We knew that it was going to have to be replaced. We'd already had it on the radar. We're still working with it today while we're getting this new system implemented. Some of the billing and cycle processes under this system can take from hours to days. So, for instance, for billing, we have to shut down what we do. We can't do any new activity in our billing system for sometimes 2 or 3 days while we're waiting to get this done. That's just in today's modern age when everything works electronically and works at the speed of light. We can't do that. It's inefficient data management. The queries are slow. Some of these queries, when we're talking to a customer, can take 30 to 45 seconds to pop up on the screen. So we're sitting there on hold with the customer waiting for information to show up. Also, we have separate customer portals. If you belong to Aquahawk, which I think most of you do, and then you have the Invoice Cloud portal, which is our account management portal, you have to have 2 separate logins right now. It's very inefficient, very cumbersome for a customer to work within. Limited integration capabilities. It doesn't work well with we have just several vendors that we have to work with, several different systems, capabilities. It just does not integrate well at all, and very limited support. They're down to 1 full-time employee right now that supports the specific project or program. So, and then as you can see, very obvious on the screen, it's a complex text-based configuration, very difficult to train on, very difficult for our customer service reps to work with. So where are we going? What's better with the new system? As you can see, this new system is modern. It's a cloud-based system. It works on AWS. It's a single customer service portal, which I'll touch on in a minute. So it's a one-stop shop for our customers. It brings them much more efficiency, brings them a better experience when they engage with us. It's efficient. These processes that we're running for days on this current legacy system can run within 10 or 15 minutes on this program. So we can leverage that time, use these human resources in a better way. Also, a lot of the processes are so efficient that we've actually been able to remove staffing requests from down the road. So we're actually saving the district money because of the efficiencies brought by this system. It consolidates the systems, which I'll show you a little bit later, and the smooth integrations. Those are all partners that we integrate with up there for payments, our call center, our GIS for mapping, our print services, our AMI Census Analytics for our metering system, and the Microsoft GP for the accounting department. So it integrates smoothly with all of these partners. This is the one I want to point out. This is probably a real highlight for our customers, is SpryEngage. This is going to be a single sign-on portal, one-stop shop for everybody to do better account management. You got more features now, make payments. You can do your wallet management, your auto pay, paperless billing. You can ask for service requests via online. We can process those. There's forms. And then water use management is in the same portal, as you can see here. This is an early build, so this isn't done all the way, but it gives you an example of what we got coming. I pressed the wrong button there, so I'm going to go back. Are there any questions real quick while you're looking at this slide? I just want to pause here.
Just a quick question. People that are on Aquahawk down have their password for Aquahawk. Will that be the password that will get them into this system ultimately, or will they have to reset everything?
Unfortunately, they reset, and that's actually a good thing. These companies do not provide password or login information, and even companies, when we've switched systems within kind of the same Umbrella don't provide that information. So it will be a new login and registration process, but we'll be very clear in our communication with the customers and make it as seamless as possible.
When do we anticipate changing or going live with this then?
Right now, we're looking for September of 2025, so it'll be fall 2025, give or take. We might, if we are successful or more successful than we've already been, maybe we'll move that up a little. If not, it could slide back to October, but September 2025 right now.
Director Wasserman, we're going to be working with Deirdre and the communications team to make sure that we get a communications package out there to the residents before we go anywhere near switching over.
And we have a good plan in place to do this, which I'll touch on a little bit.
Two questions. This single sign-on, is
Yes.
do you toggle then to the Aquahawk data at this same point, or is that going to be a separate?
Aquahawk actually goes away. And so one of the things I'll touch on here, actually, let me go to the next slide real quick. So again, this SpryPoint umbrella of products. They're all consolidated and they work really well together. So what happens is right now, Aquahawk is our middleman for our meter information. So basically we've got to get it through Aquahawk. That's what combines it with our account information so that we can present it to the customer. This now directly integrates with our Census network. So this information comes straight into our customer information system, so you see it in Engage, more live intervals, plus we can get information right away. So yeah, it's a direct interface with our meter management system now. But Aquahawk goes away, so now this takes over as and we're asking for the same features. In fact, there's a couple more features.
So the same features, I can do an hour, I can do a year, I can do 5 years, whatever.
Yeah, and the interval data, that's when we bring it over initially will probably be not as in-depth. I think Aquahawk only goes back a year. Right now it'll probably be the same. I do know one thing we're working on with them too as a development item is like the overlays of rain or moisture and weather and that side of things, because they don't have that quite built yet, but that's one of the development items we have on their plate. We actually, for the water management side, a lot of that's been generated from us. We actually, in order to contract with them, we set out a set of requirements for development items for them to do this and improve their own system. And they're doing that because we actually initiated that. So it should be a pretty robust system. But what's great is all the alerting, and you'll get a lot more information just in a snapshot. It'll all be right there, right with your account. Yep.
Go
ahead. Yep.
Second question was, if my memory serves me, this was the enabling step to add allocations to irrigation accounts. Is that correct? So this is being built in as we go, and we'll be able to look at that. If September holds, we'll be able to look at that at budget time this coming year.
And in fact, we've already had meetings with them, and Heather has been involved. So they're already designing this for us. They're already kind of looking ahead for us. We can't do it at the same time because of testing issues. You have to have apples to apples, so you can't change something in a new system and then know that you're billing it correctly out of the old system. So, but once we go live, it's already being planned for. Yep.
Okay, so great. Thank you.
Question.
Sure.
Our HOA changed ACH system, and the process never told anybody, and so all of a sudden you realize you're a month or two or three late on your bills because they didn't transfer the information over. Are you able to transfer the ACH information over to this system?
Yes, that's our goal. So right now, we just had a meeting about that actually about a week ago. And so what they've told us that they can transfer ACH information, paperless information, bless you, and your wallet information. Again, you'll have to re-register for the site, but all of this, so Invoice Cloud is our partner right now. They process the payments. They're still there, embedded. So what you're going to get is a new front experience that's linked to SpryPoint, and then embedded in that, Invoice Cloud still processes the payments, so they still have all that information. So you'll just go through this site to process your payments, so it'll all still be there. And by the way, whenever an ACH, if like you change something doesn't go through, or you change credit cards or account information, we send out notices. There's an automatic notice generated. So they should have hopefully received a notice that occurred. So, because those go out automatically. So I can check into that and make sure that they receive those notices, because we definitely, as soon as we identify that issue, they get an automatic notice. So, and then any more questions before I proceed? Okay, so bless you. You okay? Are you allergic to my presentation? No, I'm just kidding, Bill. So SpryPoint, as you see, Spry CS is what we're talking about, the system. Spry Engage is the customer engagement platform. The three on the right are consolidated systems that kind of work under the same umbrella. Spry Mobile is a service order. It's a field mobility system, and what that allows us, right now we're working with paper. This allows us to have seamless contact, customer response, et cetera, with our field staff via electronics. So whatever they do in the field comes back into our customer information system. Whatever we do in the customer information system goes out to the field. So they get a live feed both ways on customer response. This is really going to improve our response to customers and our ability to maintain our database and keep it live and active, because right now it stays behind with the paper that we push. IDM, as I mentioned, is our interval data management that works with our metering system, allowing it to go straight into the system. Backflow is another broken system. Our backflow technicians for cross-connection control. This is what preserves the integrity of our water system so we don't get backflow and cross-connection contamination. Right now, the system they're working with is very antiquated, doesn't communicate well with Billmaster, our current legacy system. We got two legacy systems that battle each other, constantly not being updated one way or the other, to the point that that technician has to actually keep a separate spreadsheet independent of the systems to make sure that they can track it correctly. So this will solve that problem as well. This will be a direct feed into our CIS system, so everything will be up to date.
So if SpryPoint has this Spry backflow application, is it an application?
Correct. It's a module, yeah.
Module. Then they must be a utility-oriented service company, is that correct?
They are. In fact, it was started by 4 gentlemen who defected from greater, larger utility conglomerates who they didn't like the way they were developing software and customer services. Basically, they came from a place where these companies they worked for were telling people what they were going to use, not what they needed. They were saying, this is what we have, now use it. They wanted to come in and say, what do you need, and let's develop that. And Backflow was actually their first product. I believe they developed that first. And we might actually go live with that a little bit ahead of the other modules. So that might come live.
Season's upon us.
Yeah, so we're going to try to get ahead of that season. So we're planning, we've moved that up in the queue, and we're trying to go live early with that. So it's on track. It's doing a good job on that one. All right, so what have we accomplished so far? This is specifically the CIS project. We signed the contract in April, kicked it off in May. We've had dozens of discovery and configuration meetings. These are kind of endless because it's an agile approach at this point. We've done 3 major data iterations with millions of data points. So we're basically pulling out almost every data point for every account on the legacy system, converting it and putting it into their system. So what we do is we put it in there, we look at it, let's move this here, this doesn't work, this isn't flowing right, so we're able to adjust, so we do it again. And what that's doing is getting us tuned into a really good, solid working system. And so as you can see where that little purple arrow is there. Is it the circle button? I don't want to press the wrong button again. Yeah, there it is. This is about where we are in this implementation. We're at that testing and agile approach, multiple iteration kind of point. We're doing constant remote and on-site training, making sure our staff is trained, understands how to use the system, and gets really, really comfortable with it. We've already got staging and test environments that have been up for months. We've been working in those, and again, kind of fine-tuning, testing, and I'll get more on that later. Systems integrations, we're working on those. We've got some of them complete and already tested and working. So that's really great. We're way ahead of schedule on those and working on one of the biggest ones now. Billing statement redesign. We've already submitted a billing statement. It's more concise, easier to read, easier to find your information, less narrative, and more kind of tabular. So it's much easier to read and find the information you need. So this is an example of one of our meetings. We just had an executive meeting. We got one tomorrow, as a matter of fact. This is the executive team meeting. This is kind of our update, how we track the progress of the project. And you can see that we're on scope, on budget, on schedule. Where the timeline is, we're all green. We do have a few risk issues. Those are being worked on, and we already knew about those. Those are highlighted, so we keep attention on them. But we're doing really well as far as the budget, the timing, the scheduling, and where we should be in the project. So you have any questions on this
Census
slide?
is the AMI, right?
Yes, yeah. Correct. Census, well, it's Xylem, and then Census is their product. And then, yes, it's the AMI system, correct. So, yeah, we've had a little trouble working with them. They're really busy and resource strapped right now. So we have basically every level. It's been escalated. We're working it. SpryPoint's working it. We actually have people that, I guess the distributor, they're working it, so we've got everybody working this issue to make sure we keep them on task. But I'll be honest with you, we've done some of the programming already, so we're kind of ahead of them where they're at. So by the time they re-engage or get engaged where they're supposed to be, we're already kind of ahead of where they need to be. So we're kind of ahead on that one. All right, so this is what we're trying to avoid. I don't know if you all saw, I guess it was a few months ago or several months ago. This does happen. There are things that can go wrong. And unfortunately, when you have a billing system issue, when you go live with the new system, it's very apparent to your customers. We're going to do everything we can to avoid this. And I'll show you what we're doing to avoid this. But this is not something we want to see from Parker Water. We want to be the one that everybody wants to be or wants to emulate. So what are we doing to avoid this? Well, we've got thorough discovery and configuration. Again, as I explained, we're very thorough, meticulous in what we're doing to configure the system and to make sure that they're getting it the way it needs to be for us to be able to bill and serve our customers. Iterative data conversion and validation. Again, we're doing this over and over and over again to get it right. Complete training and continuous reinforcement. We're doing consistent training with our staff. We're reinforcing their skills by having them constantly in the system. Basically, when they're in between their main projects or daily tasks, they're in this system every day, working in it. And I'll show you the screen at the bottom here. Solid partnerships, those we've grown and we've already established, but by getting early collaboration. We engaged everybody, all of our vendor partners that have to integrate with the system, we engaged them early on. They knew this was coming almost right after we signed the contract. So we've been engaged with them and have them, we were slotted into their timelines. We've got their resources locked up, so we're ready to go. When we're ready to go, they're ready to go. Change management, we've got a plan. We actually have a team dedicated to that, not only for our staff here, but also for the customers. So we get, again, the communications plan that Jared was mentioning. We're working with our communications department closely to make sure that we're communicating not only internally to how this is going, but also when our customers, when this is ready to come live, they know what they're going to be experiencing. Resource redundancy and agile project team. We have resources in place. There's almost never a time when someone can't be reached or someone can't respond. And that's not only on our side, that's also on Spry's side and our consultant DMA. We always have someone available, ready to answer a question, ready to take on a challenge or a problem as it arises. And then testing. You can just keep going on and on for that. Just test. This is where projects fail. And this is where we'll stop it from failing, is if we test it as much as we can. And this visual you'll see in the bottom right is one of the modules that we're using. This is one of the programs. It's called Test Trail. This is what my staff is in, again, daily. They get what's called test suites. And they run through scenarios, and they're really programmed out step-by-step scenarios. You can see this particular suite I pulled up for it was about 100. If you look over here, there's 82, I think that's an 82, that passed, one failed, so we send that back to Spry and have them figure out why that particular test failed. But we've got milestones built in, we've got test runs on the different modules that people have to run to get through these testings. But they're in there, not only is this testing the system, this is also building the skill set of the staff that's going to use it. They're in the system learning how to use it step by step. Every process, every function that we could have, they're going to run through those scenarios, and they're going to know how to use this. By the time this goes live, they'll be experts at it. That's our goal. All right. Any further questions?
First, I want to compliment you on your change of title.
Thank you.
And I would like to make a comment in Ron's favor and Jared's favor in that anytime you cross expertise in different areas, you put an exponential value on the person that's that's been able to touch bases in two places. Like Jared made his move and your move, and it speaks well for the company. And so thank you, Ron, for looking internally to do this project and make the transition.
Thank you.
I'll thank you also, since I asked you for the very famous Guy spreadsheet this afternoon.
Yes.
And which is just loaded with data. I love it. But you didn't tell me that that's not your job anymore. You just said you would go ahead and get it to me. So thank you for that.
Yep.
And who's your replacement then?
So I'm proud to say it's Nina Campbell. She was my lead. We were actually mentoring her to become and coaching her to move her up to my position eventually. We just did it a little quicker than we anticipated, so we could move on and get these programs rolling. But she's going to do an excellent job. She's fantastic. She's a quick learner. She's got a master's in business administration, very well qualified, and the staff loves her. They trust her. Our customers, she works very well. She's just a very well-rounded person, perfect person for the job. And then she's about, I think she hired a new lead to help her, because operationally she needs a lead by her side to help her do the daily tasks while she can manage some of the higher level administrative stuff. And so I think that new lead starts in about a week and a half. So yeah, we're almost back to full staff there.
Yeah. Boy, that's all good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great.
We'll bring Nina in and introduce you to her. It's important that you know the face of our customer service team.
And that's who I asked for the spreadsheet then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I finished the one you've asked for. That was my last one. So I'm training her on the first month of January. So the next one will come from her. But yeah, but the one you asked for, that was the one. My
I mean,
last
I
one,
have 3 years of data, so this
Yeah.
will add 4. So it's important to me. Thank you.
It's
Put
great.
Don's picture up there so when she comes up, she can hide or whatever.
Well, I'll be happy to introduce you. Yeah, she's in my old office. If you remember where I am, I'm right there at the beginning of the row there. So that's where she is now. So yeah, if you want to come by and say hi to her.
I was going to say, this is really exciting stuff going on, and it's another step of taking us into the future of really being a world-class operation.
It is. It is, and this is probably the premier program, and believe it or not, it's very affordable. But it's one of the premier programs out there. Everybody's hungry for this one, and but it's a very affordable option for what you get.
Ron?
I was going to ask Guy if he could address, I don't know the answer, and I apologize for not asking sooner, but Director Booth a while back asked about the app version for Aquahawk. Is that something that's available or will be someday?
So they're not doing an app on this right now. They don't have. We've talked to them about that. That's actually a question that came up during our interviews for our reviews for the selection process. And a lot of the companies are not doing apps right now, but we did ask about that. But they do have a mobile-friendly version. So when you log in, it does automatically. It basically adapts to your phone, and I've seen it, and it's actually very easy to use. The difference is you won't have to get to press one button. You have to kind of save the page. Okay. But yes, that is something that we brought up to them, and if we have a certain demand for it, we can definitely push them for it. They've got big entities like Pittsburgh, Waco, Aurora was the last one that just completed. They actually went with this one and just completed, I want to say a little over a year and a half ago with the same company. So we can definitely push if we have to for now.
Okay. I look forward to seeing the mobile version. A lot of times that works pretty well.
Yeah, and this one does. What I've seen so far, it's excellent.
So if you were going to access from an iPhone, you would go through Safari, is what you're saying,
yeah,
right?
You just save what you do is bookmark it, and then if you want to save your password, and then you can just click on it and go in. It's basically the same thing, but yeah, it functions just like an app. It's very, very, in fact, Nina, just so you know, the one that replaced me, she lives in Aurora, so she's actually been on SpryPoint. So it's been a lot of great insight. So we actually get to see the customer side. We've been using her as a guinea pig. How does this work, and how does this work? So we've done the mobile thing with her phone. We've done the online thing. So we've really been testing it through her customer account. So we put it through the ringer with there. So we're pretty confident in the system.
Brooke, Robert, any questions?
I don't have a question. This is great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Brooke, Ms. Booth.
My question, will they do an alert, like if they do have a leak or something? Does the system have that option in it, since they obviously won't be supporting Aquahawk?
Yes, it was one of our requirements. We were not going to go backwards in those abilities for that alerting and water management, so we made it actually a development and a requirement of the contract. So that's actually one of the pieces they developed and enhanced actually for us is that alerting. So yes, there will be an alerting component for the customer, correct. And actually what we're talking about is default setting to that for new customers, so all new customers start out with alert settings already built in, which we don't do now.
Wonderful, that's great.
Any other questions?
No.
Hearing none.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guy.
Have a great evening.
Go ahead.
Can I make one final
up.
last motion?
Go for it.
Yeah, I'd like to move that the Technology Department proceed to get these combination Shure microphone and speakers. World of difference, world of difference.
Yeah, we can actually understand you guys now.
Yeah, yeah, now we can ask more questions.
I will have that for Ron's office to sign tomorrow.
Okay.
Don't know if that takes a motion or not, but I would have to agree. It's an improvement.
We'll get it taken care of. It's been budgeted for in 2025, and so it's one of a few improvements that we have in mind. So yeah, these were really, really nice.
Yeah. And they work good. I mean, if you're going to have, a big conference room meeting in here, it'd really work well for that too.
That's true.
Really well.
Yep.
So, okay, now may I grab the gavel? Robert?
Yeah, just a comment on, I've got the Teams up and I'm doing the live stream on YouTube at the same time. The quality is exceptional, and I can hear the volume is coming across well. For the first time, it's done very well. It's coming across very well. Well done.
Great. Thanks for the feedback. It's a long ways from the airport a year ago, and so, but yeah, really happy with the way it's turning out.
The conference room is coming together. Pictures and mics and the whole package. It's taken us a year, but we're getting there. Thank you, guys.
It's taken a year.
Yeah. Okay. Seeing no more issues. Meeting adjourned.